Hi, you are Living Out Loud Life with Crystal Ann. We are starting our series on liminal thinking. Liminal thinking, what is it? Like, I don't even know what I'm thinking. Cognitive dissonance. What is cognitive dissonance? Like, I don't even know what that is. Okay, sometimes you hear different things, like when you're in church and you hear double-mindedness. Well, what is double-mindedness? It means like you're thinking two different thoughts, right? And what does it tell us if you're thinking two different thoughts, right? Like, you don't know which way to go. So there's this thing in our mind, right? It's our subconscious. Do you know our subconscious is what? It's like our heart. You know, it says guard your heart. Well, what is your heart? Your heart is your subconscious. It houses your will, your emotions, it's your beliefs. And do you know right there, your beliefs are what creates the thoughts. And the thoughts are what going to come to your conscious part of your mind. And that conscious part of the mind, the thoughts are what give the action forward. So, oh my gosh, what if you got a couple different voices going on in your head? Like, hey, I want to do this, but I don't want to do this. Hey, I don't want to drink, but I like to drink. Well, do you? Do you? Liminal thinking is so awesome. What you're doing is you're going in and you're learning how to explore your thoughts, right? What does the Bible tell us to do? The Bible tells us to renew our mind, right? The Bible also tells us to do what? Take captive our thoughts. So if the Bible tells us we can take captive our thoughts, that pretty much tells us it's something within our control. And come on, controllers, we love to control. So look, awareness, we get to control. We can take back power by getting a hold of our thought life, okay? Feelings, oh my gosh, you hear all the time. Don't respond to feelings, don't respond to feelings, because feelings are fickle. They tell us all the time in the church buildings and settings especially, don't do what your feelings say. Don't do it, don't do it. Do what you're supposed to do. Wow. Did you know that actually creates toxicity in our mind? Like, we hear this is what I'm supposed to do. We know this is what I'm supposed to do, but oh my goodness, like this thought came. Oh my goodness, this emotion came. Oh my gosh, this feeling just went all through my body. So what do we do? What do we do? Is the good girl should do. We resist it. We turn it off. We deny it. Because we're not supposed to feel like that. So what does that do? Oh my gosh, you just disconnected. Your mind, body just disconnected. You just told part of yourself, I am not going to listen to you and talk to you. Is that okay? Clarity. That's like two parts. Kind of. Like, but you got to respond. You got to have the awareness. You got to take the time to actually respond to it. Hey, maybe this is something that you want to resist. Maybe it is something that you don't want to do. But instead of just reacting to that thought, just reacting to that emotion, because, oh my goodness, it's going to change. That's what we do. It's how our God-given body was designed, right? Like, so what do we need to do? We need to take a moment and go, well, what was that thought? Maybe need to write that down. What did that voice just say? Like, I don't even know what that automatic thought was. Like, it just came upon my head. It doesn't even make sense. I'm going to write it down. Also, we take time to acknowledge the parts of who we are. Wow, I just had that feeling of anxiety. What was I thinking? Okay, because that's going to go through my body. If we don't take time to pause, you know what we do? We get in a cycle. Thought, feeling, ooh, thought, feeling, And if it's not a good one, if it's like one that we want to call ugly, which remember, there's no such thing as like good or bad or whatever. Like, feelings are neutral. They just is. They just is. And they here to say, hey, I got to tell you something. There's something going on. Now, what's really cool is sometimes like our past, because every time our thoughts come, like we bring our own experiences, we bring our own reality. Like, our thoughts really are just made up of the things of the past. And sometimes like anxiety, I'm gonna use anxiety. Yes, anxiety. I'm gonna use that as an example. Like, we get in a situation, we get in a scenario, and we're like, that anxiety just came. Oh my gosh, what am I doing? A survival. I gotta go. I gotta run. I gotta escape. I gotta resist. Well, maybe the evidence of your brain is like, oh my gosh, baby girl, I'm here to tell you. Last time something like this happened, it didn't work out. It didn't work out, and it's so bad, and we gotta run from it. We gotta go. We gotta. So our brain is always trying to protect ourselves. So if we cut that off, if we don't take time to stop and pay attention and go, wait a minute, let me get some clarity. Is this anxiety real? Like, is this really the scenario, the situation that's going on? Like, what's the story here? What's the narrative? Like, maybe did I just kind of like make that up? Maybe it's not the same situation. Maybe it's not. Maybe in the past it worked out like that. There's a lot to this thought life. You know, and a lot of times we don't take the time. We want quick fixes, right? I don't want to feel like this. I don't want to feel like this. What can I do short term? How can I just stop feeling like this? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That's sometimes how we get in so bad situations too, because that's reaction rather than response. So here's what we got to do. We got to go back, cognitive dissonance, liminal thinking. We got to learn how to close the gap. We close the gap. We say, here's the thought. We write down our thought, right? We have awareness of it. We got to get clarity of it. We want to know what our body is feeling and saying and doing all of that. And then going back to, let's renew our mind, right? Let's take captive our thoughts. Let's think on what is pure, what is lovely, what is right, like all these different things. So I'm coming with awareness. I'm coming with a thought. I'm coming with an emotion and a feeling, you know? And I'm like, well, what does the Bible say to do? Whew, man, that's where the gap is. That's how we come into the whole being. We take all the parts to make it a whole. Because human. God created us because human. So we have that, and we have the will of God. Now we got to do is close that gap. So with the awareness of self and with what the will of God is, we try to work those steps into alignment. We close that cognitive dissonance. We close that double-mindedness. We come into self-alignment. We don't come into self-alignment by just saying, hey, here's a powerful affirmation. Oh, spoiler alert, your brain knows, like, if you just lied to it. Like, your brain is that smart that you can't even trick it. Again, that's why that's toxic positivity. Like, sometimes that gap is so huge, we got to take small steps to close that gap. That's a whole process in itself. That's like a ladder technique, walking it up and closing that gap. So this is like an essential skill to learn for life. This is how we find our fit in our mental mindset. This is how we can, on purpose, with intention, take back some control of our life. Starts in the brain. It's a brain healthy lifestyle. Because remember, our brain does what? It's connected to all the parts of the body. Like, it goes through, it sends little messages go down, they reach the outer parts, and then they carry back the messages. Clarity. First thing for clarity is, are we doing anything too that's going to get in the way of that? Like mind-numbing substances, alcohol. I talk about alcohol a lot because I could never gain clarity. I could never get to those next steps of those essential parts of life skills when I was still flooding my body with all this other stuff. My body was so like busy going, oh my gosh, we got to detox this, we got to do this, I can't even pay attention, and like all these, it's way too much to go. And there's like so many individual act techniques for certain thoughts that we can go through, but there's so many different layers. And like when you're dealing with liminal thinking, when you're dealing with cognitive dissonance, like there is the layers, because so much we don't even know. There's so many parts. We have, like, if you're dealing with a substance, there are so many beliefs that we think we believe that are automatic beliefs. We don't even know why we believe them. Maybe we're just told. There's that about the substance. So we got to rewire some of our understanding there. We got to renew our mind into the truth of what the substance is doing. Like stress. Like, oh my gosh, we think we take a drink for stress. That's a whole nother video too on what is actually going on with our neurochemicals and all the different things that it's doing in the body. But we have to close the gap. So where was I going with that? Because you know I love to talk and I'll keep going on. But what we have to do is we have to close the gap in substance. And then there's so many societal beliefs, so many things that we were just told, like, do it because I told you to. There's so many institutions that push that on us. But I really want you to examine your own beliefs, your own thoughts. I want you to believe what you're going to believe. For me, I believe at the end of the day, it's between me and God. But because I believe that so strongly, that it's between me and God, I believe that for other people. And whatever you choose to believe, like, I just want you to lean into it 100%. I want you to know who you are, because that's who you are, not who the world told you to be. And then that's the other part. There's so many things about the self. There's so many things about the self that we need to learn and understand. And if you've been years in a substance, clouded by it, there's some time of stepping out of the fog. Like, it's a process. It's not just a one day, like, oops, I put it down and everything goes away. Yeah, we can put down behaviors. Totally. We can do it. It's called willpower. It's a finite muscle. We can do it. But how long are we going to do it? Transformation, lasting change. That's from the desires of the heart. The desires of the heart. You know, the Lord always says that He knows the heart. That's what it is. We got to dig deep into it. And it's not just about the actions that we do. It's not just about the behavior. Because remember, that behavior, there's so much more that has gone on before that. It's mental, it's emotional. Man, we're such complicated beings, but it's so simple too, all at the same time. It's beautiful. We are God-given creatures. He had a beautiful design, and the more we learn to work it His way and His design, the way He intended, not just what we were told, and the more beautiful that life keeps getting. So I just want to encourage you today, check back for the different series, the different plugins of how we're doing it, and this is coming on our different platforms. So make sure you're plugged in on the right one so you get the right thing that you need. And whatever you do today, like I'm going to tell you because that's my controlling thought. I want you to have a happy, happy day. Decide what kind of day you are going to have. My words, I'm decidedly blah, blah, blah. And whatever it is I need to be for that day. Sometimes it's joyous, sometimes it's well. When we decide what we're gonna be, then we learn to walk into it. Don't worry about the how right away. Remember, you're closing gaps, closing gaps. The how comes in the process. We trust the process. The confidence in the process, the confidence in what you will do, the confidence in trusting yourself, that's not gonna come until you try. You got to try first. Try. Think of everything as gathering data to this experiment of life and going, I'm going to do that. I'm going to pay attention on purpose. How'd that work out for me? Did I like the way I showed up in that? Is it serving me? That's how we gather data. Remember, everything is forward. We go forward, collecting information, learning from the experiences. Now, why did this happen to me? Wow. What can this teach me? It's all about data. Okay, whatever you do, have a happy, happy day. And thank you for living out loud life with Crystal Ann. We just love it. Have a happy day.